The average rent for UK homes outside of London has reached record highs, depressingly, of almost £1,300 a month. That's according to property portal Rightmove.
And this is the 15th consecutive quarter of record high rents. Rightmove saying that a countrywide shortage of rental properties, yes, is driving up all those prices. We're here to break down the figures in more detail. Our economics and business editor, Liam Halligan, with On the Money. Pretty eye-watering figures, not just in London, where it's traditionally always been high, but elsewhere in Britain, and perhaps areas you wouldn't naturally think of as well.
That's what really caught my eye about these Rightmove numbers, because everybody knows housing is most expensive in London and the South East, but it turns out rents are going up fastest outside London and the South East. We've had an increase in generation rent, if you like. 20% of households in the UK now are rented, up from 10% just 20 years ago. And let's have a look at these average rents, because I think eye-watering very much is the word. So the average UK rent, according to Rightmove, at the moment is £1,278 a month. That's 10% higher than this time last year. But just look at the bottom of the screen there, the average London rent, £2,627 a month, 12% up on 2022. We also know that the average rental property, when it hits the market, it now attracts a lot more interest because there's such a shortage of properties, there's such high demand. 25 inquiries, Rightmove are saying, on each rental property on average across the country, and that's up from 8 inquiries this time last year. But to your point about outside London, Mark, so the hottest rental market in the UK, the place where rents have gone up most in a single year, yes, there it is, in Bedfordshire, north of London, Luton, 25% increase.
And is that because people are moving out there, still travelling into London, but
I think it's partly
cheaper?
that. I think it's also, with huge respect, it's because of immigration from the Indian subcontinent has been very, very high. And of course, we know there's a long-standing Indian Pakistani community in Luton. Originally came over to work in the car factories, now very well established.
And they join the existing community.
And they join their friends and their relatives, as happens with many immigrant communities. But the graphic's gone now. But just to finish off, also, though, up more than 20% over the year in terms of rent, Loughborough, Preston, Edinburgh and Paisley. So this is not just London and the South East at all, and it's not just England. It's the North West and the Midlands.
And with 25 people chasing each property, I guess the other thing is that, there's been various suggestions that we've had the effect of blind sort of deals going through where, 2,400 may actually turn out to be 2,800 when you try and up the ante.
There are all kinds of scams going on. The private rental market, the letting part of it, the kind of transaction as opposed to the long-term contract. There are some very, very good private rental agents and so on, and estate agents who do a fantastic job and deserve their reputation and place in the market. But there are some fly-by-night ones. And I've heard some horrific stories, just from younger people here in the GB News newsroom, people having to pay to view a property
before they can even get in the door.
To pay to view. I've heard of, as you say, Mark, at the last minute, the rent being upped by 10% more when you think you've got it. I mean, the emotional strain of this is absolutely enormous.
Let alone the financial strain.
And I have to say, at the Manchester conference, the Tory party conference, attendance was thin, largely because there was a train strike on the Sunday when everybody's going up, and on the Wednesday when everyone's coming back. But attendance was not thin among young people. There were a lot of young people at this Conservative Party conference, particularly in the meetings that are about housing. I spoke at several meetings on housing because of my book, Home Truths, and the rooms were packed with youngsters. And they were all asking questions about how do we get on the property ladder, the private rental market is really, really difficult, when are we going to build more homes?
And not a word in that keynote speech from the Prime Minister on this issue.
That's right, that was a big miss. We discussed that an hour or so ago, didn't we? I can't believe that Downing Street doesn't get how important housing is as a political and election issue. Why did Jeremy Corbyn almost win the general election in 2017? He almost won, and he came within a few thousand votes, because he was offering young kids, as he saw it, a better deal on housing. We'll see if Labour focuses on housing next week, not just housing to buy, but the rental market, and also, crucially, at the sharp end for lower income and vulnerable families,
social housing. Yeah, indeed. Liam, as ever, thank you very much indeed.